My name is Ben Eaton and welcome to the Widdly Diddly Way. Today we're going to discuss the techniques behind a lick that I posted on the 14th of October. Here it is for you now. So before we go any further, please take a second to go and check out my socials, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. There's a bunch of content there. I post videos like this regularly in the Widdly Diddly Way series. Plus also I'll be dropping my new instrumental tune soon, The Heavy Six, on my YouTube. Really excited about this one, worked really hard, had some amazing musicians on there. It's going to be out soon. Also, take a second and go and head over to my podcast, the Performing Musicians Podcast, where I interview musicians from all over the world about their lives before and after COVID. Okay, so as you can see, we've got a bunch of hybrid arpeggios here. So this is kind of inspired by artists like Tom Quayle and Nick Johnston, which comes from their legato approach. They use hybrid picking and legato in just such a creative and wonderful way. I was kind of looking at some of their licks and thinking about how I can incorporate it, because I'm not a great legato player. Most of my licks are picked or economy or hybrid picked. So this is an approach that kind of mixes it all up in the bag, and I just had a crack at it to see how I go. So I was also looking at some Rick Graham stuff where he was talking about moving backwards across the neck. As guitarists, quite often we move across the neck. What this one is doing is actually approaching these arpeggios and shifting back every time, except for the last one, which is like a turnaround position. So let's have a look at the first position. So we're thinking about this as an E minor. We're starting on the D7 position, which is the 10th fret on the 6th string. And it's a repeated pattern. So we're picking, hammering on, plucking with our middle finger, picking, hammering on. So where we start is here. Pick, hammer, pluck, pick, hammer. And you kind of think about this as a hybrid arpeggio. Some people have called those sort of things like a swybrid thing, where you're moving quickly through arpeggios in a lateral way, but you're also using hybrid picking as well as your pick. Alright, so we're starting on the D, 10th fret bottom string, hammering up to the 14, plucking the 12th on the A string, picking the 10th on the D string and hammering up to the 14. Right, so now we're moving across, and if we're moving laterally, we'd go across, we'd be on the 10th fret of the next string, like your classic 3-note per string stuff. But we're going to move across and down every time. So now we're moving across and we're moving down to the F sharp position. So now each one of these I'm thinking about as like, that first one is a D7. And this is kind of a F sharp half diminished kind of thing. Okay, so we're on the 9th, on the 5th string, hammering to the 12th, plucking the 10th fret of the D string or the 4th, picking the G string on the 9th and hammering to the 12th. And then we're moving across and down. So now we're over here on our A note, 7th fret, 4th string, your D string, picking, hammering up to the 10th, plucking your G string, your 3rd string on the 9th, picking on the 2nd or the B string on the 8th fret, and then hammering onto the 10th. And now for our turnaround, we're moving across laterally to get ourselves switched around and back. We're heading back down the way we came. So we're picking the 7th fret on the 3rd string, the G, hammering to the 9th. Plucking the 8th on the 2nd string, the B string, picking the 7th fret on the 1st string, hammering up to the 10th on the 1st string. Now this is where we flip the script and we come back the other way. Pick, hammer, pluck, pick, hammer, and then we're flipping. So we're pick, pull off, pluck, pick, pull off. So instead of hammering now, we're picking, pull off, pluck, pick, pull off. So that flips us around, that changes our direction. Now we're heading exactly back down through the same arpeggios, except now We're picking, pulling off, pluck, picking, pulling off. Pick, pull off to the 8th, pluck the 9th on the 3rd string on your G. Pick the 10th fret on the 4th string D, pull off. Then we're shifting up. We're picking the 12th fret on the 3rd string, pulling off to the 9th, plucking the 10th on the D string or the 4th string, picking the 12th on the A or the 6th string, and then pulling off down to the 9th. And then a final position before we move is picking the 14th fret, pulling off to the 10th on the D string, plucking the 12th, pick 14th bottom down to 10. All the way through slow. And then we shift up to the E position, so we're starting on the 12th. Now we're doing the same thing, but we're just moving each interval up 1 in the E minor. So we're starting on the 12th, picking, hammering to the 15th, plucking the 14th on the A string, picking the 12th on the D string, hammering up to the 16th, going across and down again. So we're 10th fret A string, 14th fret A string, plucking 12th fret D string, picking 11th fret your G string, hammering up to the 14th, picking 10th fret 4th string, hammering to the 12th, plucking 11th fret 3rd string, picking 10th fret 2nd string, hammering to the 12th, and we're picking on our 3rd string, 9th fret, hammering to the 11th, plucking the 10th on the 2nd string, picking 8th fret top string and hammering to the 12th. So that's our second cycle. And then we're going to do the tapping descent. So we start from our 10th fret 1st string, hammer, hammer up to the 12th, tap on the 15th, pull off 12th, pull off 11th, pull off 10. We're hammering onto the 12th fret of the 2nd string, pulling off to the 11th to the 10th, hammering onto the 11th, back up to the 12th, tapping the 15th, pulling off to the 12th, pulling off down to the 10th. Now we're doing the same thing again on the 3rd string, hammering on the 3rd string, pulling off down to the 12th, back up again the same way we came, tapping on the 14th, pulling off all the way back down again. Then we're hammering on to the 12th fret, pulling off down to the 9th, 11th, 12th, and then hammering on to the 14th fret, which is our root note. Then we're slipping our hand down to the 2nd fret on the same string, which is also the root note, the octave below. Then we're just doing a little flick and a pull off, which gives us our note ringing out. Then we're fretting the 3rd fret on the bottom string, giving a little quarter tone bend, pulling off to the open E. So we've gone octave, octave, minor 3rd, pull off, and then bend from the 15th up to the 17th, which is also the E. So it's a bunch of repeated E's. With that G there, pull off. Alright, so there you have it. So it's all fairly diatonic except for some of the chromatics inside the tapping. It's just the way you sequence the hybrid arpeggios to give that cool sound. And ultimately, when you're trying to play guitar, you're trying to figure out ways to make your sound interesting. When you're trying to improvise in a way, you're trying to move around arpeggios and chord tones in a way that sounds cool and also is pleasing to the ear. Thanks very much for tuning in to the Widdly Diddly Way. Before you go, please come and check out my socials, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. Tons of stuff over there, some of my acoustic playing, lots of instructional videos, playthrough videos, jam videos. Also, as I said before, my new instrumental tune, The Heavy Six, is coming out soon with my band Poe. Really excited about this, can't wait for you all to hear it. I think it's some of the best stuff I've ever done. Also, please head over to my podcast, the Performing Musicians Podcast, talking to musicians about their lives before and after the COVID crisis. Okay guys, thanks very much for tuning in. I'll see you next week.